Meanwhile, the Premier League, of course, the big game on Sunday finished 1-1 between Arsenal and Manchester City on yesterday's show. And, of course, beyond a lot of people questioning Arteta's starting 11 and whether or not it was too reserved in a game that you felt Arsenal really needed to make a statement, given what we've seen over previous seasons. Robbo, as a former Arsenal man, let's start with you. Did he get it wrong?
Well, he got the midfield, you could say he got it wrong. They dominated the game in terms of possession. But when you play with Rice, Zubimendi and Merino in the midfield, there's going to be a shortage of passing ability. You know, Declan Rice can hit a crossfield pass and he'll play balls into the striker's feet. But because he played those three in there and there wasn't too many players making runs beyond Gyökeres, the two wide players were too wide. So my issue was that Declan Rice and Zubimendi did not need to go back into the back three or back two to go and get the ball. They could have played 20, 30 yards up the field. That was what was negative about Arsenal more than anything else. We know that Merino can make runs in the box for crosses coming in. We know that Declan Rice can do the same. But if Zubimendi and Declan Rice keep going back to receive balls, and there's only got Haaland pressing the ball for Manchester City, and he's doing it half-heartedly, why are they going back there? Play for 15 yards up the field and get more support for Gyökeres. That was the thing that was wrong with Arsenal for the first half in particular.
Well, and you've got Saka and Eze on the bench.
Well, Saka coming back from injury.
If he can come on at half-time, he can start the game.
No, that's not how it works.
What do you mean it doesn't know how it works?
Well, he may not have...
You want to start your best team to make a statement, 3-0 at half-time, whip him off.
Yeah, okay. Now, I mean, I think what really messed them up in this game is obviously conceding that goal, and then that allowed City to take the approach they took, which I don't think, and this is why Pep is...
Don't just... You can't poo-poo my Saka theory. If he can play a whole second half, he can play a whole first half first, can't he?
If he's only cleared to play 45 minutes, surely you want to bring him on in the second half.
I don't know. That's an interesting point, isn't it? Surely you want to start with your best team.
I would imagine Arteta's plan wasn't like, let me make this as difficult as possible by leaving my best player out for no apparent reason.
Well, clearly, if I'm fit for 45 minutes, I should be starting. The game should be beyond doubt. If I'm 2-0 up at half-time, it's a completely different game because I've started Saka.
Right, and if you're 2-0 up at half-time and you haven't started Saka, then you don't need to bring on Saka, and then you're fine.
You weren't, because you played it so conservatively in the middle.
I think...
Robbo.
Well, the only problem you got is that in the midweek game, the best player for Arsenal was Madueke. And was he the player that you were going to leave out for Saka? So if you're going to play Saka on the right-hand side and play Madueke on the left-hand side, I could see that rather than Trossard. And I agree with you, Dan, in terms of if I was a player that could only play 60 minutes maybe, I'd want to start the game. I wouldn't want to come on as a sub. I'd want to have an impact from the start of the game. And then when I get tired, say to the coach, I need to come off now, rather than the other way around. I found it, well, that wasn't sub very often, but I couldn't have an impact when I came on as a sub. I always wanted to start games. So that's what I did.
Well, sorry, can we also mention...
Go on, Robbo.
And the fact that Eze hasn't played particularly well, that's why he didn't play rather than Merino. Merino's been more consistent than Eze. Eze came on and did okay, but I still think the judgment was out because he's been playing on the left-hand side. And could he play that role that Odegaard was playing? He proved in the second half he could, so that's why he was left on the bench.
Your thoughts, Shank?
We aren't quite sure what the issue or the assessment on Bukayo Saka was. Now, maybe it was... He can only make 30 minutes, but then you're 1-0 down at halftime and you're desperate to make a change, so you throw him on. The other side to that argument is he's fit enough to play 60, so therefore he should have started. But we're not quite sure what the situation was, how he was assessed. Mikel Arteta made that decision. Now, for me, I think it comes down to, I wasn't convinced by Trossard's involvement. I thought Madueke was, as Robbo said, outstanding in midweek. I thought he was outstanding in the first half of the game. I'm not sure why he was brought off. And then when you look at Arsenal's equalising goal, it comes from Eze dropping deep and providing that deep pass that a Rice or
Odegaard
would have done. So for me, I'm thinking you could go Madueke, Eze, either side of Gyökeres as your preferred two. And then if you do need to change, Then you bring Saka on, we move Eze through the middle, and that's how you play the game. So for me, it's less about the starting 11, certainly a whole lot less about Bukayo Saka, but more about the changes that were made at halftime.
Well, Madueke, we heard, got a knock at halftime, well, during the first half. That's why he came off. Did you want to say something, Gab?
No, I want to bring it back to the other guy who was missing, is Odegaard. And when I look at this team, it seems that he's got a bazillion players. He's got an alternative for every starter. The one guy he does not have an alternative for is Odegaard. Maybe Nwaneri, but he doesn't seem to trust Nwaneri in that position because he's too young, and we saw him obviously come on at the end, right?
But he's not a Rodri, is he? He's not a Pedri. He's not someone...
He's Arsenal's most creative midfielder.
Who doesn't create enough in big games.
Okay, says Dan Thomas. But he's
still
still the most...
Let's not have a show. We won't do this because I haven't played at Arsenal. But that's the thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
this has been the disappointing thing with you can't. If you're looking at Arsenal, you go, oh, because Odegaard didn't play, that gives them an excuse.
It doesn't give him an excuse. No. Let me be very clear. If Odegaard's not there, you sign this large man to play centre forward for you, then be more direct. Then rather than the U-shaped approach, just put balls into the box, try to get knockdowns. Maybe Rice runs onto them, maybe Marino runs onto them. It's an ugly way of playing. It's not the way Arteta wants to play, but you're a goal down, you're at home. Then you do that if there's no Odegaard. Otherwise, you have to hope that Eze goes and invents something like this and you bring him in off the bench. But there's only, I just find it curious that he could feel the second team that could probably finish top 6 in the Premier League, but the one guy for whom he does not have an alternative, and maybe Nwaneri will be that alternative one day, is Martin Odegaard.
Does he not know what to do with Eze, Robbo?
I think he probably found out after this game that he's not at his best when he's playing out wide. When he played for Crystal Palace, he played through, I would say, an inside left position, and he came on as a second half and played through the inside right position. So I think it's slightly deeper than a centre forward. He doesn't want to play out wide. Now, is he going to play with that formation? And at the moment, he's probably the best bet to play in the Odegaard guard role when he's not fit, because Marino is a totally different player. He hasn't got that passing ability. Rice hasn't got that deftness of touch with his passing. And Zubimendi, and I'll say it many, many times, he'll pass it square and backwards more than he passes it forward. So Eze was probably the player that's got that little bit more quality on the ball to see a pass than any other player other than Odegaard.
So much about City's game just surprised the living daylights out of me as well.
He got out-coached because Pep Guardiola is still a better coach, or coach better in this game. He was not expecting this, as Shaka said, and I think it became very difficult for them to go and break them down once City went in that lockdown mode. And by the way, City would have looked stupid if somehow they had broken through, right? Then we would sit here, we would criticize Arteta for being, Pep for being too negative. Oh, and by the way, Erling Haaland, it is the worst start to a Premier League season since he's been at Manchester City in terms of goals scored. Wow. Just the 8 goals in 5 games for him.
Wow, what a great start.
I know.
A terrible start for Erling Haaland and a great start for Liverpool, who sit at the top of the table. 100%, of course. Again, you could say they weren't particularly swashbuckling in their victory against Everton, but they get that. Already, Robert, they're 5 points on the top of the table. You were saying before, just give them the title now.
I certainly wasn't saying that, but it was interesting that they went into the Everton game and they did a little bit like Arteta did, because they took Wirtz out the side, or Wirtz didn't play. So they had 3 midfield players that are very hard-working, decent on the ball, but they're not great passers. And they played a totally different game. They were more solid, they were more dynamic when they were making their forward runs, and that was shown when Gravenberch scored the first goal. It was an outstanding run. He's an outstanding player at the moment. But they went slightly more defensive. But at the moment, Liverpool aren't firing on all cylinders, and there's going to come a time when that's going to tell, and they're going to lose maybe a couple of games because they're not playing at their very best at the moment. Nothing like they were at the beginning of last season.
But the argument is, Robbo, what if they find that extra cylinder?
Of course, yeah. I mean, if they do that, they're going to run away with the league. But at the moment, I don't think that Arne Slot is quite happy with what he's seeing. He's still trying to mix it up and get the best out of Ekitike, and he's still trying to get the best out of Wirtz. This is a player they've spent a lot of money on, and was going to be the star. He was going to be the player that when teams sat deep, he was going to break them down with his skill and his trickery, and we've seen it a lot in the Bundesliga. I think he is going to be that player, but it's just taking him a little bit longer than most people thought at the moment. So Arne Slot's got 1 or 2 problems maybe there.
Not pieces to fit into a puzzle.
a lot of pieces.
Did you like that?
I've kind of made this analogy all year, but I actually have a bet going with Jules that
Okay.
I think by the time Liverpool find their mojo, or if they find their mojo later, and he gets his settled 11, I don't think Florian Wirtz is going to be playing at number 10. I think he'll be playing on the wing, or he'll be playing as a false 9, or it'll just be a different setup, because you're adding so many new players to a team, and at the same time, you're taking your most expensive asset, other than Isak, and you're asking him on top of adjusting to a new league, top of adjusting to a much bigger club and everything. Oh, by the way, you're playing a new position as well. You're playing a position you really haven't played before ever. And he's only, 22, 23 years old. That is a really, really big transition. And so, we'll see how this experiment unfolds. We'll see Isak and so on. I mean, right now, if you're Liverpool, though, you're grateful that you're getting the points.